Happy Tuesday, everyone. I hope you all had a really great long weekend. I'm pretty sure everyone had a long weekend. Well, we did, and it is stinking hot here, and we are all struggling, and the dogs are struggling. So if you hear some panting in the background, it's just my poor little Staffy who is dying of the heat. Yeah, I just wanted to jump on here today and go through the challenge. Today we're up to day 9. I don't like doing live videos or keeping the challenge going over the weekend, although it is going. I just don't like giving me tasks to do over the weekend because I feel like it's a good time to catch up, take on board what we've already said, and then get yourself ready for the new week, and we can hit some new little topics and challenges in the new week. So I hope that's okay. If you would like me to keep this going through the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, please just comment below and I'm happy to adjust to that, because it does make the 30-day challenge kind of stretch out a little bit longer, but I'm okay with that if you guys are. So give me some feedback below and let me know what you think. If you do want it to go over the weekends, if you like the little break from me over the weekends, let me know. Before we go further, I just wanted to be completely honest with you. I am literally very exhausted today. I don't know if you can tell by the massive bags under my eyes, but I keep looking at them and thinking, oh my gosh. But that is me today. I've had a massive weekend. We have family staying with us, which is a little bit stressful. I'm sure a lot of you can relate. But yeah, that's me today. So if I get distracted a little bit, I'm sorry and I apologize. Please bear with me and I will do a follow-up post to summarize my main points of today. Anyway, so today I wanted to jump on here and quickly talk about one thing that I'm super passionate about, and one thing that I have very much had to work on myself and adopt, and I feel like it's something that a lot of us don't even think about and kind of struggle with it without even realizing, and it's a really big something that can greatly impact our digestive health so quickly and so easily without even thinking about it. And that is, well, the topic is slowing down when we eat and taking some time to enjoy our food that we're eating and not being in a rush all of the time to get our meals down, to quickly eat the food if we're time poor. Yeah, so I guess essentially it's eating mindfully. And I mean, that's a broad subject, I guess, eating mindfully. So I'm going to kind of break down why and how we can do that. So why is it so important to eat mindfully? And when I say eat mindfully, I mean slow down, enjoy your meal, understand what you're eating, realize what you're eating, schedule it into your day. Don't just rush through it. That's eating mindfully. And like eating when you're hungry, stopping when you're full. That's really another important aspect of this term, eating mindfully. So why is this so important? Because when we are super rushed and, for example, say we eat our lunch at our desk in front of our computer, we're still trying to work, or we eat breakfast on the go, we're eating in our car stuck in traffic, all of these factors are contributing to stress, and we're trying to eat a meal while we're stressed. So that leads me really nicely into this whole stress response. Now, I'm not going to go into it in massive amounts of detail because that's not really what today is, and I'm going to do that in another day. But to quickly give you a little bit of education around what happens when our body goes into that stress response is we have two systems. So we have one at the top is our ANS system, which is called our autonomic nervous system. And then stemming from that, we have our parasympathetic nervous system and we have our sympathetic nervous system. And to give you some terms that you could probably relate to is the sympathetic nervous system, that triggers our fight or flight response. So that's the system that releases our cortisol, releases adrenaline, and those fight kind of hormones that your body picks up if you're in a stressful situation, and then it releases those hormones to essentially get you out of that stressful situation. And now that stressful situation isn't exactly a tiger coming at you, which is what it used to be. It's now sitting in traffic. It's now the pressure of work. It's now lack of sleep. It's now eating inflammatory foods. All of those things trigger that sympathetic nervous system to release cortisol, to release that adrenaline, to try get you out of that situation. That's a natural progress that our body responds to. On the other spectrum is that parasympathetic nervous system, and that is our rest and digest system. So that's a system, and that's the state that we want our body in whenever we're eating meals, whenever we're trying to digest meals, when we're going to sleep. It's really crucial that our body is in that rest and digest and repair parasympathetic nervous system. So what happens when we're rushed and we're not enjoying our meals, or we're eating on the fly, or we are stressed, or maybe we're having an argument while we're trying to eat? All of these things, what happens is our body goes into that sympathetic nervous system naturally, and that means our body releases cortisol, it may release adrenaline to try and to get your body back to a state of normal, essentially. So when we're trying to eat meals, we're in this stress situation. What actually happens is a side effect of that sympathetic nervous system. All your blood flow goes to the things that are going to get you out of that stressful situation. So, for example, blood flow is going to go to your limbs, so your arms and your legs. So if you need to, you can run away quickly. It's going to go to your heart because it needs to increase your heart rate. It's going to go to your lungs because you need to be able to breathe more efficiently and get more oxygen in. All signs that you're in a stressful situation and you need to get out of that quickly. So that's what happens when we go into that stressful, what happens when that stress response is triggered in the body. So then when we compare that to the parasympathetic system, when we're in that rest and digest state, the blood flow is actually going to our digestive organs, so our liver, our stomach, our colon. It's going to all of those things that we need to be able to digest a meal efficiently and effectively. So when we're not in that parasympathetic nervous system and we're trying to eat a meal, this is when we get bloated. This is when we get digestive issues after a meal. This is when we get reflux. This is when our bowel movements start to become really irregular, because blood flow isn't going to those crucial organs that we need to be able to digest a meal, but rather it's going to our legs and our arms and our heart, and it's focused on those because it thinks you're in a stressful situation. So, a lot of women say that they get bloated after they eat a meal and they can't figure out what food it is, and it doesn't matter what they eat, they get this response. My first question for you would be, are you eating mindfully? Or to rephrase, are you eating in a stressful situation? Now, that stressful situation can be so different for everyone. For me personally, it was, I would get my lunch over and done with by eating it at my desk in front of my computer while responding to emails. And emails are a pressure point for me. So of course I was feeling pressure while I was trying to eat my lunch. I didn't even know or understand what I was eating. I was just getting it down whilst trying to respond to these emails. So of course I felt pressure. Of course that triggered my stress response. And then my blood flow wasn't in my digestive organs. It was going to my legs and arms, and that's super unhelpful when I'm trying to digest the food that I'm eating. So therefore, I would get bloated pretty much straight away. My bowel movements would become irregular, not just that day, but the next day, because your body is trying to process this food and digest and metabolize and get all the beautiful nutrients out of it, but it has no blood flow going to those organs to be able to do that. And it might not even be at that time that you're eating the meal, but it could be a couple of hours later when you're still trying to digest that meal, but you just have that elevated stress response throughout the whole day, which unfortunately a lot of us do, and we're not aware of it. It just keeps triggering and firing the whole day through, so you're not giving your body a chance to be able to digest anything. So this is super, super, super important. Stress is the first and main thing that I always talk about with women when it comes to digestive health, because it's the one thing that literally prevents your stomach and your liver and your immune system and your colon and your small intestine, all of those necessary things that we need to be functioning well. Stress can turn those off in an instant. And that's why we see a lot of issues arising after you eat a meal. So in saying that, how can we switch this up? How can we get our body into this parasympathetic nervous response so we are in that rest and digest and repair state when we're eating a meal and around meal times? The most efficient way, which you've probably heard me talk about, is breathing. So taking, and not just like quick breaths into our lungs that we don't even think about, but deep breaths into our stomach. So breathing in through your nose, counting to 5, holding it, counting to 5, and then releasing through your nose for as long as you can. Doing 5 to 10 of those is so effective, and it is the only way, get that, the only way that we can switch from that sympathetic nervous system, so from that fight or flight system, to that parasympathetic nervous system pretty much straight away. Your breath, deep breathing, is the only way you can do that. So that is why people say you should be doing some yoga, you should be doing some meditation, whatever that looks like for you, to get your body into that rest, digest, repair state. Set your day up and then go back to that deep breath throughout the day. So maybe before you sit down to eat a meal, practice that deep breathing. 2 to 5 minutes of deep breathing, and you're in that parasympathetic nervous system. You're in that rest and digest state, and you'll be able to metabolize your meals the best that your body can. You're giving it the best shot. So that's one way, so your breath. The second way could be, if you are someone that eats your meal in front of your computer at work or at your desk, get outside, go away from that environment, because that environment is most likely a pressure point for you. So get out of that environment, even going outside, away from technology, and just appreciating what is on your plate, and taking it slow, being aware of what you're eating, chewing your food, giving your body the best chance it can to digest whatever you're eating. So getting away from that environment that could be causing that stress response in your body. And then another one is eating without distractions. So sometimes, we tend to have the TV on when we're eating dinner, or you're on your computer when you're eating dinner, or you're replying to a message, or you're on social media when you're eating a meal. Just take that distraction away for a little while and see how you go, because although we don't like to admit it, those distractions, even though you're not really mindful that they're there or you're doing it, they are a pressure point, and they can cause that stress response, like even seeing things on social media and falling into that trap of comparison. It becomes a stress for you. Without it, subconsciously it can, and that could be the trigger that's causing your digestive issues after a meal. It can be that simple. So number 3, just get those distractions away. And the fourth one, which is a little bit more tricky, but I've been in this situation before where maybe you're eating a meal around people that are arguing, or you're having an argument with someone, or the company is stressing you out, which unfortunately I'm sure a lot of us have been in that situation before. I know it's difficult, but even if you're aware of that and maybe tune out to it, maybe if you can get up and leave, or maybe you choose not to eat your meal at that exact time, it's really important, because being in that environment where maybe you're angry or maybe someone else is angry, that is stressful, and that simple thing can be triggering your stress response and really preventing your body from doing what it wants to do, which is digesting that meal. So they're my tips. So breathing, getting out of the office, outside, into nature, eating a meal, and getting rid of the distractions, as well as maybe removing yourself from a stressful situation or just delaying your meal time a little bit if you can. Other things to just be aware of when you are eating is, I know a lot of people struggle with, they consume their food in literally a second, which, I mean, it's difficult when you have a really nice meal in front of you. I admit that, but really take time to slow down and chew your food, because digestion actually does start in your mouth. You start releasing all those beautiful enzymes that you need to break down food. So chewing your food, slowing down, and just being mindful of what is on your plate, even focusing on our macronutrient balanced meal. Being mindful, do you have your carbs, do you have your protein, do you have your fat on your plate, and just enjoying the process of that. So they're my little tips, and this is a really important one to take on board. And I really, really encourage you to work on this in the next week, because I know all of us struggle with this at some point, and it's super important to dogs in the background. But yeah, it's super important to be mindful of. So I'll do a follow-up post with the task specifically. And don't forget, I probably should have said it at the start, but I will be uploading this onto my podcast. So if you want to listen to anything on there to save you some time, then by all means, go right ahead. Okay, have a lovely day, guys, and I will check in with you a little bit later.